So for part B, angle relationships, it's really just giving us vocab to explain how two angles are related to each other. So complementary angles, it just means that they're going to add up to 90 degrees. So it could be two, in the example here, these two angles, one is 65 and one is 25 degrees. So when you add them up, you get a total of 90 degrees. So you could just look at the numbers, and if they add up to 90, they're called complementary. Or you could put them together like in this picture and they add up to 90. So together they're going to make up that 90-degree angle. Supplementary angles is when we have two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So pictured here, 120 plus 60 degrees is 180 degrees. So together, when we put them together, they equal 180, which forms a straight angle. So for vertical angles are a little different. It's not like the word vertical meaning going up and down. It's just a little bit different here. So first of all, I've highlighted the two angles that are vertical, and they're going to be the same. So this one here is 140 degrees, and this one over here is also 140 degrees. So they're just called vertical angles. They're kind of across from each other. So they share a vertex, or the point in the middle they share, and they kind of face each other. They're always going to have the same measure. In math, we call that congruent. So they're the same, so they're congruent. So these other two angles are also vertical. There's another pair of vertical angles, and that would be this one here is 40 degrees, and this one's 40. So those are also vertical angles. So you may want to make some flashcards or do something, whatever helps you to memorize these vocab words. Some of the problems we might have to solve is we might be told two angles are complementary, so we're given one and we have to find the other. So in the example here, since we know we're told that these two angles are complementary and one of them's 30, the other one must be 60 so that together they can add together to be 90. For supplementary angles, remember they have to add up to 180. So if we're told that one is 135 degrees, then the other one has to be 45 degrees in order for them to add up to 180 degrees. When we have examples here, we know vertical angles are going to be the same, and they even kind of look the same here. So if we have 115, then this one across from it also has to be 115. And then if this one's 65, then this one over here has to also be 65. So we can use that vocabulary word, that definition, to help us find the vertical angles. For part C, you're going to want to make sure you watch the video to learn about angles in a triangle. So we know that a triangle has three different angles, or three angles. They're not necessarily always different. And the total has to be 180 degrees. So for number one, you just have to figure out what is x in order to make the three angles add up to 180. So we already have 84 and 81 degrees here. So add those up. So we're going to add these two up. Whoops, sorry. So we're going to add these two together, figure out what that is. And then what does x have to be so that they total 180 degrees? These last few pictures get a little more complicated because we need to use our hint here that angle 1 and 138 are supplementary. So if you look at what I've drawn here, they equal 180. So you have to figure out what is angle 1 so that 138 plus something gives us 180. So once you know angle 1, you can then use our rule of triangles having 180 degrees to find angle 2. So this is a two-step one. You're going to have to find out what angle 1 is first, and then see if you can find out angle 2 from that. Number 5 is also a little bit complicated for the same reasons. The first thing we need to do is find angle 1 because these two together equal 180. So we have 155 degrees. We need to figure out what does the rest have to be for it to add up to 180. Once we know that angle 1, 60, and angle 2 have to add up to 180 degrees. When we get to number 6, we're going to have to use our rules again. You're going to have to put your mind to it, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult, so let's look at it a piece at a time. If this one here is 37, then this one here must be the same thing. Once you know angle 1, you know that L is 90 degrees. You can then figure out what angle 2 is, remembering they have to add up to 180. Number 4 is a challenge. I encourage you to look at the hint and then go from there.